This week, all I've got to say is if Danny and Nia leave the show, I'm rioting. But that might be a really hot take, even within this podcast. This is Confessionals and Congressionals. My name's Lauren.
I'm Cassie.
And we're just two moms trying to balance our civic duty with guilty pleasures. And this week, we are recapping the Valley Season 2, Episode 12.
Before we get into it, please like, subscribe, comment, leave us 5-star reviews only. Don't waste your time. If you don't like it, just move along. Sure. We're doing a little bit of rebranding. We're thinking about how we're going to change up some episodes. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. Right now, I think we've got Lauren doing the YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get things. So please come join us. We really want this to be a community. That is really what it's all about. So comment, let us know what you like. Let us know what we should add, what you don't like. We might listen.
We might. And with that said, this week we've got Jax and Tom hanging out at their apartment. Sorry, I mean Jax's apartment. Mm-hmm. Kristen and Janet's feud hits a fever pitch, and we've taken a side. And Zach continues to ride or die for his friends, remaining to be the number one friend in the group.
Yeah.
So before we get into all the fun details of the Valley and other pop culture things we want to talk about, is formerly a political podcast as well. And we feel like it would be ignoring the reality of what's going on if we didn't mention what's going on. So we don't want to get into all the details, but our hearts are really broken and heavy over the devastating news of the floods in Texas. So we're going to leave a link in our show notes for places that you can donate to the victims' families if you feel so inclined. And, another really big thing happened in the last week, Cass.
Yeah, that is that Trump's economic plan, if you can call it that, passed. And that will benefit billionaires. So congratulations to them.
And corporations.
And just the 1% in general. The rest of us will feel the impact in a much different way. I think a lot of us are struggling to get by, whether you're in the middle class or, God, those that are in poverty, even more so than ever before. So we know that. And we also know that none of this is permanent. And that's something that you have to remind yourself sometimes, is that this is what's happening right now. But how we choose to vote going forward and what we choose to do can change all of this. So we don't have to feel devastated. If you've ever kind of looked around and thought what can I do? Somebody should fix this. Sometimes that answer could be you, right? We've talked about that before when we've talked about whether or not people in our lives should run for office. You might be surprised if you're passionate about this. Pod Save America is helping everyday people, teachers, parents, neighbors, veterans, step up, run for local office. Local office matters so much more than you think. It has a ripple effect into those bigger things. So if you think well, I can't be president, nobody's asking you to, your local school board is a great place to start, your local district. So you can go to votesaveamerica.com, which will be linked in our episode notes. And if you're looking for other ways that you can help, there's so many that we don't even think about. I had a teacher friend of mine down here in Florida. We had to take Ron DeSantis' civics class if we wanted our bonus a couple years ago. And that was a very interesting class, learning about how we are, in fact, a Christian nation and the benefits of slavery and those things. And then when she got her bonus, she donated 20% of it to Planned Parenthood, which is a great way for her to kind of just write back.
Exactly. And I remember when I was uninsured during all my 20s, I would go to Planned Parenthood for birth control and stuff. I've never had to have an abortion, but it's not just an abortion clinic. It provides health services for people that don't have insurance, which is going to be even more people coming up when these bills kind of go into full effect. So it's super important.
Yeah. And Planned Parenthood is also one of the number one providers for STD screening, including HPV, and 70% of all women in America will contract HPV at some point, which is the leading cause of cervical cancer. So those cancer screenings and getting ahead of it, that's something that we think Planned Parenthood and we think abortion, and there's so much more than that.
Yep. Totally. One thing I'm planning to do with my time is volunteering at a local abortion clinic here in town. I didn't really realize that was a thing, but I heard about another woman in town doing it. So you can escort women up and provide them with like emotional support and stuff. I drove past the abortion clinic the other day, and there were all of the anti-abortion protesters out there with their signs that say like, this is life and all of that. And that'd just be so, so intense to go in knowing that you're doing the right thing for you and have that as the thing that invites you in. And also you can join your local indivisible groups. They host protests in cities all over the country and probably maybe the world. And with that, let's get into the fun stuff.
All right, let's do it.
So first, let's talk about what we're recommending this week. I have a recommendation, but why don't you go first?
So we're going to deep dive my recommendation more in our second episode this week. But my big recommendation would be the challenge, Untold History. You can find it on Paramount Plus. And because we're going to start watching the challenge, it's a great place to start. If you've never seen this show and you kind of want to know what it's about, I think the Untold History perfectly captures it. So that is my big recommendation.
Yeah, and tell us about like your favorite people from that show so far that have like stood out in the retelling, or your favorite stories.
Definitely my favorite story is CT and DM. They'll forever have my heart. And aside from that, I would say TJ Lavin, the host. Seeing the accident that he got into and his work and overcoming and coming back to be the host was remarkable. And it inspired, I really understood the guys that did the commentary that were like, there are days where I wake up and I'm like, I ate a donut, I don't want to work out, but what would TJ say? And it's like, no, he'd be like, you bring it, let's go.
Yeah.
So TJ, and then Mark Long. Mark Long is my OG favorite, and he is from right here in Brevard County, Florida.
Wow, all the best people are.
I know, it's crazy.
Totally. My recommendation. So, you and I have been talking about the Idaho murderer and the mindset of the man who goes into a home and murders 4 people in one night on this seemingly like whim kind of a thing, but also planned out because he had been in school for criminal, what was it, like criminal studies?
Criminal justice. He was getting his PhD in criminal justice, and he actually had like the last 4 classes he took was with a woman who is considered the world-renowned expert on serial killers. Yeah.
And so we were all, as you and I had been talking about, you know, I'm a therapist. And so I think about like the mindset of this, but I didn't even really know where to go with the mindset of a serial killer really, except for that they're a psycho, you know, like, that there's something going on there that makes them disconnected from the reality. And so, yeah, we were like, was it premeditated? How long had he been planning this? Like, did he choose these people specifically for some sort of reason? All that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to recommend a video by Pop Psych on YouTube. And he talks about how he conceptualizes Bryan. He has a PhD in psychology and he's a therapist. And I found it really interesting to ponder the idea that Bryan was disconnected from empathy and humanity and like reality in such a way that he was experiencing derealization, which is when like your life feels like you're in a video game or in a movie or in a dream. Like you don't feel like it's real. Everything feels very surreal. And part of that is because you're disconnected from empathy. You're not feeling things. And so you're like, I should feel things. I should feel things when I see somebody get hurt. I should feel things when I'm supposedly falling in love. I don't feel anything. What's going on here? And so he talks about how when the world feels fake and people are in this mindset, they will sometimes try to do things that will prove that they are in real life to try to feel something. And so it's almost like it's almost like they murder because they feel like they're in a video game and they're trying to prove to themselves, like, wake up, wake up.
You know, that's actually really interesting because I've been reading more about him and watching other documentaries. And I saw that on Reddit in the, years before the murder, years and years, he had been posting about feeling like he couldn't feel and struggling with this, like, what is wrong with me? I don't feel anything about anything.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. And that thing of what is wrong with me, this psychologist was posing that potentially that was actually what motivated him to study criminal justice, because like a lot of us who become therapists to learn about why our family was the way it was, why we are the way that we are, like a lot of people that become therapists go into it because they come from really dysfunctional backgrounds and they have a really hard time with relationships or with their self-esteem and all of that, and they want to help other people through that. And so he posed that potentially he was actually trying to understand himself by going to school to learn about criminals and serial killers.
Yeah, and it sounds like, before he did this, like in high school, he was very overweight. He lost like 100 pounds between high school. He also became addicted to heroin. And then he he went to rehab and he got clean. And that's when he went to school for criminal justice. But as that was going on, he was also posting on Reddit that he was suffering from visual snow syndrome. Are you familiar with this? It's like where, like a TV gets the black and white, like they get that all the time in their peripheral. And there are some people that live with it that say, like, it's a lot of work for it to not drive you insane. Just like,
so it sounds like he was deeply disturbed.
Yeah.
And also sick, with, addiction does a number on people, why people become addicted, the road that led him there. Yeah. So it was a really interesting video. I don't even know if he had all of that context when he conceptualized Bryan, but I found it interesting and honestly humanizing to understand. And that's where am trying to come from, where it's like, most people aren't evil. Even people that do this.
I don't think anybody is.
Right.
There's something, whether it's a mixture of nature and nurture, I don't think anybody is just evil. So I think that's what makes a video like that interesting. It's like, can you explain it to me? Because I don't think we're inherently evil. Something isn't firing correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so one more thing before we get into it is, have you heard of what's going on with Amaya Papaya on Love Island?
I have not. My stepdaughter is watching it right now. Like, she's finally caught up and she mentioned something and I was like, I'm so far behind.
Okay, so because we both stopped watching, but I've been like listening to recaps and stuff. So Amaya Papaya, our dear Amaya Papaya, they had a like voting thing where all of the people in the villa, maybe it was just all the guys in the villa, had to vote for their favorite and least favorite girls or something like that. And apparently she got demolished by the men. Like, they hate her and they had so many mean things to say about her and she was crying and all this. So, and she's had a rough time with the guys in the villa. And then the next night was America's favorite guy and girl. And America overwhelmingly voted for Amaya as their favorite.
Yep.
And she's going to be so popular when she gets out of the villa.
Yes.
But I thought that was so interesting. First of all, it's the rebound that we hope for her. We hope that she feels love. I think that environment is not right for her. She amplifying her insecurities and making her feel like she's too much, and we hate to see it. But I also think it's interesting because she kind of exudes like feminine emotional energy. Like, everything she feels comes out of her face and out of her body. Like, she's crying and then she's laughing and then she's sobbing and then she's saying, no, why would you do this? And it's like, it's up and it's down. And I think that makes men really uncomfortable.
Yeah, but it's also like everything with her is so authentic. Like, there's nothing happening where I'm like, oh, you're doing it for drama or you're doing it like, it's just how she feels in that moment.
Yep.
And I think that's what makes her so lovable to America. It's like, I don't see manipulation being part of it. It's just authentic.
Yep. She's very authentic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we love her. And I just wanted to share that because I thought that was so fun. Oh, and Zach. So then after all the guys voted bad for her and America said she was the best, all the guys started sucking up to her, and all of a sudden all three of the guys wanted to date her, including Zach. And she said something to him about how, like, he was like, I've been trying to get to know you, and whatever. He's like trying to suck up to her again, and she called him what I think is one of the meanest things you can say to someone.
What did she say?
She said that he was something like, you're an exceedingly odd person, or something like that.
I mean, good for her. Now, was she able to find out that America likes her best?
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I hope that brought her so much joy.
Yeah. And Ace found out that America hates him, and Taylor found out that America does not like him. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And later this week, we're going to get into the Sierra of it all and all of that. So that's for another episode, but this is the Valley recap. So let's get into it.
All right. Did you like it overall?
No, it gave me anxiety. How about you?
I loved it. Thought it was chef's kiss perfection.
Amazing. All right. Well, I can't wait to hear. This is season 2, episode 13, The Cruise from Hell. And in the opening scene, everyone is celebrating and going down to the food. Kristen and Luke have gotten engaged. We kind of ended with them up at the hotel room, and Zach is like, we have a limited time to eat the food, so get down to the food, people,
I love how, rigid he's worked so hard.
Yes.
This is someone who is like, I'm making all of this happen. Let's go, people.
Yes.
Let's go. I loved it.
I know. And I can see you being the kind of friend that would do this for somebody and really put your 100% into it without, even being asked, really. Like, he might have been asked, but I can just see you doing that and being like, all right, next, next activity, let's go. We're supposed to be having fun.
No, that would, fully. And if you tell me, we only have food until 10, I'm making, do you all know that? We need to eat. Let's go. Come on. Let's eat. Yeah.
You guys are going to thank me later, going downstairs.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
But the vibes are really weird. And everybody's going down, and it's they're all complaining about each other. Jasmine's complaining about Danny and Nia taking a nap again or whatever they're doing. And they're just so kind of weird. Brittany is like, if everybody's not going to be held accountable to do things, then I'm just going to leave. And I'm like, are you joking me?
Well, and I also think when I watch the after show, I'm like, it's so, you guys, production, need to be giving us more context, because then in the after show, they're explaining that this was about the fact that some of them were taking so long getting ready after the boat and all that. And that there was supposed to be, we just come right downstairs, and that Zach was frustrated that everybody was taking so long to get ready, and he wanted them down before Kristen. Wanted him down before Kristen and Luke came down. And so then I was like, okay, now I have some context. But in watching it, I'm like, what is everybody so mad about?
Yeah, and Brittany was definitely drunk. They were all probably drunk, but she was visibly drunk. And I know that when she gets drunk, I used to do this too, where you can just get a little sensitive. And once you kind of get in that mood, you're like, you know what? I'm going to be a selfish little bee today.
Yep. No,
yeah,
100%.
And you can just become such a brat and not yourself. So I will give her that. But yeah, it just it seemed like everybody was on a different page. It was very weird vibes. And Kristen's uncomfortable because she doesn't like all the attention, and everybody is sort of being forced to be happy.
Did you notice the person that she was talking to about that was just a random hotel worker?
Is that the person who hugged her on the way out?
I'm not sure if it was the same person, but in that moment where she's like, I don't like everybody looking at me, I rewound it because I'm like, who is she talking to? And then when I rewound it, I was like, I don't know, because we don't know this person.
Could it have been a producer?
No. So it's an older woman from Hawaii, works at very clearly from the outfit and all of it.
Okay, I think it was the same person that hugged her on the way out.
It might have been.
I wonder if she knew her from the show.
Yeah, maybe.
Or something. Because they were
friendly. Blitzed a little bit and just reaching out to anyone.
She's like, instead of talking to all 15 of my friends here, I'm just going to talk to you, random person. Yeah. So then Nia and Danny arrive, and it's a whole thing. By the way, were you annoyed at Jasmine saying, like, what is he taking a nap again?
I guess, yeah, because I'm just like, unless something new has happened, why are we drilling down on this storyline?
Okay, so then Kristen kind of reminds people again, like, by the way, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And as we find out later, the news got out, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, this is just like a reminder. She just said this up in the hotel room. So she genuinely shouldn't have to say it twice, but she's reminding everyone again. And also Britt was like, I'm not about to have some drama. And it's like, girl, you're being the drama, babe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your season of drama. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like this whole thing is drama.
Yeah.
Like you are upset about nothing and then creating drama.
I mean, I'm sure it's like a summer of trauma for her. And then you add in alcohol, and like, it's not, I would not want to be on camera.
No.
That's
None of us would want to be filmed during those dark days. Yeah.
No. So thank you, Brittany. Thank you.
Yeah. Also during this scene, Aaron comes up behind Luke and was like, you beat me to it. And Luke's like, well, I have a couple years on you, bud.
I know. I'm like, as a viewer, this is a very new relationship. So
yeah, and also like you're keeping up this facade that you didn't cheat.
Exactly.
But you're not convincing us very well.
Not when no, that feels, I don't know. I can't make heads or tails out of that situation, honestly.
Yeah, and Michelle is starting to get on my nerves.
Thank God, finally.
I know, I'm finally on your team.
Thank you.
So anyway, everybody's like hanging out, being bratty. Danny's being a brat, and Nia's pep talking him, and they kind of just like, they just have like kind of a weird night during this.
Yeah, it doesn't feel very celebratory.
No, and it gets weirder because then they all go up to the hotel room, except Luke and Kristen go back to their place, of course, and they're like, it's baby making time.
Mm-hmm.
And they go back up to the hotel room, and Janet and Jason are like in the other room with the lights out, like watching TV or something.
Apparently,
I can hear them
like,
all.
Yeah, like their living room is the room that is the hangout room. And I'm sure, listen, there's got to be a reason. There's something that we're not being shown about why, like maybe the other hotel rooms didn't have sitting areas, or I don't know. But there's got to be a reason why production has chosen, we're all going to go back to, because I mean, it wouldn't make any sense to just be like, all right, guys, now you guys are going to go back to Janet and Jason's living room.
Yeah.
There's a reason we're there, but it feels just so odd.
So odd. And so they're just sitting in there like whispering, like, should we leave? They're just feeling really awkward. And this is the only time I sympathize with them during this whole show, really.
Yeah. No, I agree. That it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Okay, so then everybody's waking up the next morning in good moods. It's a new day. Everybody's sober. You know, Kristen's drinking a White Claw, but everybody's sober.
Okay, wait. When they wake up, you said Kristen's drinking a White Claw?
Well, out on the beach. Not like right away, I don't think.
Okay, so I'm going to go back a minute. When they first wake up in the bed,
yeah,
and this is when Kristen she gets a text from Jax that says, congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
She's drinking a glass of wine.
No.
Red? We'll put it up. No, it's white, but it's yellow in the glass. Like, it is not water. I rewound it a couple times. Like, it is clearly a yellow liquid in a wine glass.
I mean, she's celebrating.
This is like no makeup on yet. I'm groggy looking at my text. I was a little like, wow, that's early.
That is early. Yeah. Yeah. So they find out right away that Jax knows.
Yeah.
About the engagement and has posted it.
Okay. Are you sure on that? Yeah, to the boys chat, not to Instagram.
No, I have that to Instagram, but I don't know where I got that.
Okay, it is the boys chat that yeah.
Yeah. He posted it to the boys chat, which has like 35 people in it, and none of them are like it's not like they're all his close friends. And so Kristen is like, who told Jax? Like of all the people that you would tell, Jax isn't the one because Jax can't keep a secret and everybody knows that. And who told him?
My money was not on Brittany. I thought for sure it was going to be Jesse.
I did too.
That was what I thought, and no, it was Brittany. What was she thinking?
And that is how you know that she was super drunk.
Yeah,
because I think that when she's super drunk, she has a weakness for Jax. We have all seen that. He is decided that he's in the phase of, should we have gone to therapy? Did we try hard enough? And he's sucking her back in with this bowl, and she can't help herself when she's drunk. She's texting him on the bed. We get a clip of that. Yeah, so Britt told him, and she goes, but I told him not to say anything. And it's like, girl, don't even waste my time with that.
No, I wouldn't have even said that. I would just stick with the I'm sorry. Don't even add that in.
Yeah, and it's just bad. It's a bad look.
It is.
It's a bad look. It's a bad sign that Brittany is drunk texting Jax all willy-nilly. She says it's about Cruz, but obviously not. If she's even announcing this, she should really should have known better, which really like puts on display how much she does not think when it comes to him.
I know.
Yeah. So we get like a little convo with Brittany and Kristen on the beach.
Now, I will say this conversation, both with the text with Jax and with Kristen wanting her to stand up for her more, I felt like Brittany, I don't know what more you could ask of a friend. The amount of accountability and I was wrong and okay, this is what you need from me. And I was just like, that's amazing. What a great friend. Like she just seemed so, I hear you. And that is something, here's why I didn't, but I'm going to work on it. And I just, I mean, what else could you ask for?
Yeah, I thought it was an A+ apology. She seemed sincere. I think everybody understands the chokehold that Jax has on her and that she doesn't think very clearly about when it comes to him. And Kristen is like, there's something else I wanted to talk to you about down here, but unfortunately we have to talk about this. And then she starts ranting about Janet. And she says, Janet is a miserable human being. And this really shows me just how much Kristen hates Janet.
I'm telling you right now that this will become an iconic line from this show, is when she says she's a piece of cardboard.
Yes.
That will become iconic.
Now, do you think that this feud between Janet and Kristen continues into season 3, or do you think that Janet goes?
I think Janet goes. I think we'd like her to stay because of the villain that she is, but because she's made it feel so manufactured and because these groups won't film together, or at least the threat is being made if I don't want to hang out with them, and they're not going to play that game.
No, and Kristen's not going.
No, definitely Kristen's not going. So I would think that it would be Janet. Now, I don't love that in this conversation, Kristen harps on the fact that Janet was a fan. There is nothing wrong with that. All right.
No, her complaint isn't that she was a fan. Her complaint is that she was a fan. She infiltrated the group. She infiltrated the show. And then she tried to make Kristen her enemy and get Kristen kicked off the show. That's her problem.
Well, now the last part of that sentence, I would agree, is not right. But everything else
you come after Queen
said,
Bee. You would have never done that.
No, I would just infiltrate the group.
Right, you would be BFF.
I don't want to even be on the show. I am simply going to find out where you're hanging out, come there, become your bestie. I'll talk to you behind the scenes. I'm not interested in being in front of the camera. But other than that, it's the dream. Like,
you're Jared with the Crocs.
Right. Like, she's calling fans creepy. Calm down. We're not creepy. We love you.
No, I think she just hates Janet and she'll find any reason to hate her.
100%. Because I'm like, this was also 9 years ago. We're talking like Vanderpump season 3.
Yeah, and she's on, and I think she's in season 3. Is that the
Right.
season she's in?
Yes. So it's like, calm down a bit, all right? Like,
Yeah.
Scandival is really what put you in the stratosphere. So, you know, it's not like Brad Pitt and Angelina. It's all right.
Yeah, so yeah, Kristen's ranting and raving, and we love it. We love to see it. And then, sorry, I've lost my place. Okay, so then we're kind of starting to get ready for the boat. All the other people that we haven't already seen are getting ready, and there's somebody says that they're hoping that everyone will just get along.
Yeah.
And when you hear those, 6 ominous words, is it 6 words? What's coming?
It's just like when Janet says, like, what could go wrong? What's the worst that could happen? And I'm like, hell, here we go.
Yeah, shit's about to pop off.
Yep.
Yeah, so Luke is wearing some sort of costume. Everybody's dressed for a boat. Luke is wearing a costume.
I was so confused. Like, first of all, that Luke would wear this.
Yeah.
Like, without anybody else being, like, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's like, yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, like later Kristen says he's silly, and that's one of the things she loves about him. And I'm like, but silly in that way?
I don't see
maybe we
that.
just don't know him that well.
Maybe. I don't know. I found it odd.
It was odd, and it was sort of a stripper sort of outfit that he was wearing.
100%.
Like it was like a slutty Halloween costume.
I know. I will say I've never heard Moose Knuckle.
You haven't?
No, that was my first go around with Moose Knuckle. I'm very familiar with Camel Toe.
Yeah.
But
you're like, very familiar.
That one I know. But no, I was like, Moose Knuckle, what? And so I was
Jesse taught you something.
Jesse explained it. Yeah, I get it all crammed in there. And I'm like, I'm going to have to go look at a moose knuckle, apparently. My husband just walks in the door. You can see him in the mirror. And judging by his face, he apparently knows what a moose knuckle is. Do you know what a moose knuckle is?
Well, it's similar to camel toe, but is it a man's camel toe? Or
there you go. Apparently, I'm the only one that was unaware.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep, that is so now everybody, if you didn't know, you know now. And yeah, so everybody's like getting on the boat, and Janet asks Michelle what she ever liked about Jesse. And I thought that was a hilarious question because he's being a mega douche and obnoxious at every turn. He's so annoying. But in the best way. Like, I've come around to really like Jesse as a sort of kooky, weird character on this show. He doesn't so much bother me as long as he's not fighting with Michelle.
Yeah, I agree. I don't hate him as much right now, where we're at in this season. Like, right now, he just seems like he's fun-loving. And I honestly applaud the fact that he can, like, have a good time and all of that with Aaron being there with Michelle. I'm just telling you that, like, I'm the kind of petty that would not. Like, I would be ruining everybody's time.
Yeah.
Like, so...
That actually makes me wonder if he's like hamming it up a bit to try to mask the fact that he's probably like mega bummed.
Yeah, I mean, I would like be either crying or raging the whole time. Yeah. So good for him.
Yeah, good for him. And she says that Jesse became douchier with more money and success. And my question is, do you think that that's true, or do you think that the money and success like enabled him to be himself?
I actually don't think he's actually found himself yet. Yeah. I think he has seen like both sides of the spectrum, and the hope is that you like find a middle and you stop with these extremes. Yeah,
I mean, on the episode later this week, we're going to talk about the GQ article, The Valley's Divorced Men, I think something like along those lines. And it's a scathing biopic of the men of the show.
Yeah. Which sum up a lot of men at this age going through divorce.
Exactly. And I think that it really speaks to how society treats men. Like, I'm on this whole thing right now. And I think it's interesting that men have this sort of midlife crisis where they're like, I've done all the things. I worked, I made the money, I did the things I was supposed to do. I got married, I had kids. Isn't this what the F you wanted from me? And now I don't know who the F I am because I just did what everybody wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And I'm still not happy.
Right. The only thing I think is interesting is that I think a lot of the times those divorced men, the kids are older. And like these guys waited so long to get married
Right.
and have kids that it's
Yeah.
like your kid is like 3. You're not done. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But in a lot of other groups, it is like they're in high school now. They're whatever. And so I find that interesting that they're so quick to like, I don't know, like what else do you want from me? Like, I don't know, 17 more years of what we have to do here.
Yeah, we'll see how he gets along. And then we get a convo between Britt and Zach. And one thing about Zach, another thing about Zach that I really love is that he does not shy away from holding his friends accountable. He will be like, you said you weren't going to do that and you did. Or in the after show, he's like kind of checking Jasmine on her story about everything. And I think that he does a good job of like kindly but firmly being like, yeah, that isn't cool.
Yeah.
And he does that here with Britt.
Yeah.
What the hell were you doing?
Yeah.
Are you really going to divorce him? Tell me right now that you still are.
So then what would the correct thing be for Zach to say if Brittany had said, I don't know?
I guess I can only think of what I would say, which would be, that makes me really scared.
What I get afraid of is where it starts being like, then I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Right.
And I very much worry about that. Just being, having worked in a field with toxic relationships, and it's like, then you just isolate them even further. So what is that line where you're supportive?
Because if she goes and hooks up with Jax, she's not going to tell him.
Right.
In that situation, because she's going to feel like, okay, well, you told me not to tell you, and now I feel even more shame and embarrassment and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's really tricky to figure out how you walk that line. Because I think it's good to hold someone accountable when, they're doing things that aren't good for themselves. But at the same time, this is such a tough dynamic.
Yeah.
Because of if we're going to call it by the legal terms, domestic violence, that Janet doesn't want to use that term for. But if we're going to look at it like that, then I think it's tricky. I don't want her to feel like she can't talk to anybody.
Right. And I don't get that impression from her a year out that she fell for any of this in any real way.
I agree. I think, with all of this time past that we can see, she clearly has gotten to the other side. In the context of this moment, I was like, I love him holding her accountable, but I'm also just a little bit worried that you're going too hard. I just don't want her to feel alone. But I agree. Now that we're a year out, it doesn't seem like she slid back.
Yeah. So then we get to Jax's and Tom's. Oh, sorry. I mean Jax's. I can't get over the fact that when I was watching this, I was like, oh, we're at Jax's and Tom's.
Yeah, 100%.
They're roomies, the boys. They're back together. And Tom brings over Hungry Man's. And you can tell by the way he brought these over that this is like a thing that they do.
Oh, I mean, that's a thing where I live. We all know that. Like Hungry Man dinners, you're getting divorced. That's like the only reason there are Hungry Mans in the freezer is you're alone. That's just known. So
that's funny.
I thought it was perfect that Tom Schwartz brought those over. From this entire scene, the thing that I wrote down was how slowly Jack says the word amicably. You can tell that he's like, I'm getting this right. And it is the slowest, like, I want us to really amicably work this out. And I'm like, good job, Jack. You did it.
What do you think he would say if you were like, what does that mean?
Just what I did.
Yeah.
He's a dumb.
Okay, so then Jax immediately, and I mean immediately, tells Tom that they got engaged.
Yeah, of course he does.
And then Tom is like, oh my God, wait, I'm so excited for them. That's so awesome. I'm going to text her. And he's like, wait, I don't think you're allowed to know.
I actually loved, and it could have just been the editing of the scene, but I loved the way that Schwartz said, I'm going to text her. And then I loved how it just went to Jax going, wait, what? And it was the most perfect. And then, obviously Jax explaining why I would rather you not yet.
Very funny. And then he's kind of talking about how he's having some doubts about whether they've rushed into this divorce thing. And he's like, should we have gone to therapy? Should we have tried harder? And all of this stuff.
I don't think you're going to like my thought here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. Just hear me out. Let's pretend that Jax stays 100% sober and that he continues to go to therapy, stays off of social media, and he's quote unquote doing the work. Is there any point in time where they could have worked and there is a regret by both of them?
So I have some thoughts about this dynamic that's happening right now. So first of all, obviously Jax, she asked you to go to therapy many a time. So you're acting like this is like a joint decision that you guys should have done together, as if like she didn't try hard enough too. We didn't try hard enough. And that is a way for him to pull her back in and feel responsible. Like, I don't think he means to do it. I'm just saying like that is an abuse tactic. That's how you pull somebody back in. And I think that like there's a definition for trauma bond in like pop culture, and then there's like the actual trauma bond. And an actual trauma bond is when you become bonded to your abuser and you feel bonded to them. You feel loyal to them. You feel like you need to fight for them. Like I think that Brittany feels this actual trauma bond with him, and these types of tactics will pull her back in. And whether he knows that consciously or whether that's just part of his psychology, it's probably the second part. I think he does feel very alone. I think he feels like he got abandoned. These are all, of course, like hugely distorted versions of reality, but they are his reality, which is, did she even ever care about me? Did she even ever love me? We didn't try hard enough for this. All of that kind of stuff. And I fear when he says things like that it could pull her back in because they have a trauma bond like that. And I also think that because they have that history, I don't think that they could ever have a healthy relationship. Okay. Even if he did all the work.
That was going to be my final question, because obviously I agree with you, and it didn't work as far as pulling her back in. We know that now. We're a year out, right? Like the divorce will be final any day now. It's over. But that was going to be my final question, was could there be a point in time where it could be a healthy relationship if he did all the things that he purports that he's doing?
Right. And you know who's not going to therapy is Brittany.
Yeah.
And she had a part to play in this, whether we want to admit it or not. Like, she played a part in that dynamic. There's a reason why she was attracted to Jax. There's a reason why she stayed so long. And that shit needs to be worked out too. And she's not doing that.
Right.
And so maybe if both of them went to a ton of therapy and then did couples counseling and he was sober and he had like done all the work, then maybe like I do actually think that Jax might be changing. I do. I don't think they should get back together. I don't think he should be in a relationship at all, but I'm starting to see little changes. Like, for instance, he's not lying about everything anymore.
Well, and he's been staying off social media like he said he was going to. And even in this episode, when we get that clip where she's clearly called him about the group chat, and he's just like, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm sorry. And I'm like, that is very unlike Jax.
Yeah.
To just, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm sorry. He's not saying, well, why did you tell me? Or, you know, he's just, then I was like, for a second, I'm like, all right, well, that's a step.
It is a step. Yeah. I mean, it is a step. I think Jax has a long road ahead of him.
I agree.
And Brittany does too. And that is the reality that I think, like, now that we are a little outside of the, like, she's a year out of the relationship, a little over a year and a half maybe. And all of that, I think we can start as pop culture observers. We can start talking about how, like, she has a responsibility to also heal herself and figure out what drew her into all of that chaos in the first place.
And you did a really great TikTok on that, just about the fact that nobody has to think they're broken. There is something different that can be on the other side if you want it. And, you know, you work for it. And I think that's an important part, because we're just having fun with characters on TV. We don't have any idea. Like,
yeah, we don't know these people.
Right. Like, whatever, if you do the work, like, you could be a totally different person that we're just making fun of this moment.
Yeah. And it's like, saying that Brittany had a part in it is not meant to like undermine the harm that he caused her.
Yeah. I remember, like, I'm going to get off topic for just a second, but I remember when the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, Jennifer Aniston thing happened. And I'll never forget this interview that Jennifer Aniston did, really when she was in the thick of it, just finding out that Angelina Jolie was pregnant and all of that. And she talked about this moment that she had with her therapist, where her therapist was like, you get one day to be a victim. You get one day to do that. And then we're going to figure out what your side of the street is, even if it's only 5%. And we're going to figure out what we do with that 5%. And I just
that's
thought
a good
that's
fucking therapist.
A beautiful way to do this, right? Like, that's all you can control.
Yeah. Yeah. All you can control is what you are doing in your own relationships. Right. And a lot of people take that to mean like, okay, well, I can't change him, so I should stay in this relationship and figure out how to change me. And like, no, the accountability is you leave the relationship. Right. The fact that you can acknowledge that somebody has very harmful and abusive behaviors, and that you're compassionate towards that and empathetic towards that, because you understand that underneath that is a scared person who doesn't want to lose the person that they love or whatever it is, doesn't mean you should stay with the person. Then we get back to the boat. Everybody's partying. It's supposed to be a good time. Remember, we're celebrating. Woo! We're celebrating. And I noticed that Michelle is trying to keep Janet company, it seems like. And I noticed that Michelle's oftentimes sitting next to Janet. And I do think that Michelle also feels a little bit left out of this friend group. It doesn't seem like they don't like her, but I think that maybe like they pick up on what we pick up on, which is like, she's not really giving us much.
Well, and I don't think that they hate Aaron as much as she wants them. I mean, hates Jesse as much as she wants them to hate Jesse.
Right.
And
she can't help herself.
Right. It kind of isolates her.
dig at him.
Yes. Yes.
I watched her watch What Happens Live. I think she was on with Zach, because I'm watching everything Zach's ever done because I've become obsessed.
Yeah. Well, he's like your bestie.
Yeah, he's my bestie. And so I watched the Watch What Happens Live with her, and it's like, she can't help but just say, like, talk trash about him all the time. And yeah, it's like, even when you can tell that she's holding back, she's still saying something mean.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if that's the narrative you want to go with, like, that's fine. But what about you? Like, what else is there to you?
And the truth is, like, there's no nice way for me to say this, but the truth is, like, you fill the victim role that you seem like you wanted to have a lot better when you're not slinging shit at him constantly, or slinging crap at him constantly. Like, I don't buy it anymore. Now I just believe you guys are toxic together, and I don't see anyone as more right or wrong.
Yeah, and like, I see her poking at you. So yeah, I can see why she might get reactions out of you and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Michelle's hanging out with Janet, and yeah, like, throughout the rest of this night, it sort of unfolds in a very chaotic way that's really hard to follow, in my opinion. So what do you understand of this evening?
Okay, so what it seems like is that Janet and Michelle are sitting down talking, and it seems like Michelle is explaining to Janet that when she talked to Zach about, clearly Michelle does not like Jenna hanging out with the group. Jenna at some point hooked up with Aaron, and she's, in my opinion, insecure over that fact, but she doesn't like this girl because of it. And so Zach was trying to explain to her that, like, it seems like you think that Kristen, like, planted her in the group to get to you, and that's not true. And when you really think about it, the people that have been bringing it up the most are Janet and Sheena.
Yeah.
And so what she's saying is like, Janet is the one that's making it a point of what Zach is telling Michelle is Janet is the one who's been making it a point of conversation. And Sheena is the one who's been bringing her around.
Right.
And then we see these flashbacks, and that does seem like what's happened here. Right? Like,
yeah, I mean, Kristen does bring her up, but not in a malicious way.
I don't think so. She seemed like, even as she said, like, you're friends with, she immediately backpedaled and was like, I mean, you know, my friend Jenna, like, you know, she was trying to like, I don't want to make it awkward. And then when they played
like,
that,
I don't want to make it awkward, but this is also a reality TV show where we have to talk about these things and like how people are connected to continue to build the narrative.
Right. And why? And I think that's a really valid point too about Sheena, because when they did that field day, Sheena showed up with Jenna, both of them wearing the referee outfits.
Yep.
Right? Like, why aren't you mad at Sheena? Because that's really including Jenna. She knew they were going to be filming.
And she's your OG friend.
Right. There's a very small group of you here. Why would she bring this girl? And so I think Zach had been trying to get Michelle to see that. Like, you think it's all Kristen, but if you look at all these things. And so then, of course, Janet is trying to say, like, so he's trying to say it's us. You know, I would never, and Sheena would never. And that leads Michelle to say, I think I want to call Zach over and we can all talk about it.
Yeah, okay.
And so when she says that, then Zach says to Kristen, Michelle wants me to come down there and talk. Will you come with me?
Right.
And Kristen agrees.
Yeah.
And it devolves from there.
Right. And Kristen gets really worked up and Janet gets to be the calm, cool, collected. What? I'm not doing anything. You're crazy.
And I really believe that this is the crux of Kristen's issue. And I can actually empathize with this moment for her because I know what that's like, especially living in a small town. And what I realize now is that this group has lived in this area a long time. Right? Even though it's not a small town, they clearly have a circle.
Right. And yeah, I bet it feels like a small town to them.
100%. And there is something really infuriating about not being allowed to grow.
Mm.
It is very frustrating when you've been around people for 10 to 20 years and who you were at 24 is not anything close to who you are now. And I will cut someone out of my life if you're going to keep me locked in to this narrative you decided on 20 years ago.
Right. That's a really good point.
That's what I see from her in this moment. It's just, and I've had it with I'm Crazy Kristen.
Right. And Janet brought in that narrative at the beginning of season 1 and was like, crazy Kristen. And it's like, that's what I mean when I say like, Kristen is mad because Janet came into this group with a bullseye on Kristen's head.
Yeah.
And has tried since the day she got there to paint Kristen as a villain, as a crazy person. Yeah. When Kristen has matured and been in therapy for freaking 10 years and like is in a solid relationship.
Right. And Janet is searching for a moment like this where Kristen blows. Yep. And it's like, oh, it just validates everything that I think and everything that I say. And like, everybody has a bad moment. It does not negate all of the growth that she's had and how calm she tries to be. Look at what happened at that restaurant a few weeks ago. She's the one that got up and left. This is getting too heated. I'm going to go. But you don't want to talk about that. You just want to talk about when she blew up on the boat. Like that's because it fills Janet's narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like Kristen is mad in these moments because this is what I definitely picked up on because Janet is saying to her face that she wants to repair things. And Kristen is like, I guess it's water under the bridge. Like, I think we repaired things. And then Janet continues to bring this stuff up. And she's like, you're still mad about that? Like, I thought we were good.
Well, and I think Janet's been doing even more of that off camera. Right?
Exactly.
It's like off camera. It's like, I think, and there's even a moment in one of Janet's confessionals right here where she's like, I just think it's sad that we just couldn't get there all summer, and I'm like, you did it.
Yeah, you didn't try to get there. What do you mean?
No.
And she says, like Kristen says that they talked about this in person, which means like off camera, which
Right.
is what you're referring to. And, Kristen's so surprised and she's like, and Janet is like, you accused my husband of taking his ring off. And I'm like, first of all, and they clarify, like, she didn't accuse him. She was just repeating a rumor. And she did that because she was upset.
Yeah.
And like, she admits that. She's like, I didn't believe that. Nobody believes that. I did say that. I don't believe that. I'm not going to perpetuate that. Like, I don't think that he does that.
Right.
Are we good? Not only that, but Janet keeps calling Danny not only an alcoholic when we've got Jax and Jesse in front of our faces, but says the word essayed.
Right. And that's what I mean when I say, then why don't you want to call Jax's behavior domestic violence?
Exactly.
If we're just going to go by the legal terms, right? Because that's the only reason you did it is your husband's a lawyer. So you just were trying to use the legal term. But then you guys talked with Jax on the phone and we're all excited about his growth day 2 of rehab. And you didn't have a label for that, but and I don't want to minimize. Right. And I'm not minimizing anything that has to do with Jasmine and Melissa, but that is their story to tell and how they feel about it. And that's not what's happening here. Janet's just weaponizing it.
100%, because that actually has nothing to do with Janet.
Right.
And they don't want it brought up anymore. I feel like they've probably made that clear, not only on screen in this episode, but off of screen. I think they've probably made this clear and they're tired of it being brought up. I did feel bad that everyone was like seasick.
I actually my husband and I went on a gambling boat like a year ago and he had like one drink and we basically just had to like go to the clinic and get Dramamine and have him sit down the rest of the time. Like I don't know how anybody can drink on a boat. Like it's already rocking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, it's tummy ache central. Yeah, so apparently Jasmine, she said in the after show, was too seasick to like get into this argument.
Right.
But that's why Melissa had to stand up and say, like, will you guys stop talking about this? And Melissa seemed very, very, very upset.
Yes, because it's about her more than like you're calling me a victim of assault. Do I not have a say in any of what is happening right now? Like,
and she's like, we're past it. We talked about it. We're good. Like Danny is like, we are good.
Right.
I have apologized. I've taken accountability. I'm going probably to AA. Like
the only thing is that if Danny, because I know you're listening, like you cannot go to a bar and have too much to drink. Like,
yeah,
Janet, all she needs is one little thing you do that gets out, and it'll just she will run with that narrative and do the whole like, see, I tried to tell you all. Like,
yeah,
you got to stop Danny right now.
Yeah, I think Janet is annoying because she's very smug and very passive aggressive. Like even in the after show when she was like, honestly, what do they want to call it? Like you guys let me know what you would want to call it if not essay. And it's like, you don't actually mean that. You don't actually mean honestly, like blah blah blah. You're being passive aggressive and you're being like, stop talking about it.
Well, and I don't even know, like, yes, she's so passive aggressive, but she also does this thing where there was an episode we watched, I think it was this season, and Brittany had ordered like Taco Bell and
McDonald's and
and Janet was like, that's my girl. Like there was just something about the moment that felt like you're more calling our attention to the food she ordered. It just didn't feel nice.
I think that Janet wants to be seen as someone who is super chill, like really low maintenance. I love Dave and Buster's and magic and searching for stuff on the beach with my, and eating fast food. I just think that that's like the perception that she's trying to curate. I think what's hard is that it's hard to tell whether that's like authentically who she is. Meaning, does she say those types of things off camera too? Does she also pretend to like, because I don't believe that she knows authentically who she is. I just mean like, does she do this on and off camera where she acts like this? It seems kind of like it. It seems like this is sort of a personality thing for her, that like people know that she likes Dave and Buster's, and it's like, it just comes off as extremely disingenuous. And
Yes.
I could be, of course, like misreading it. It could be being edited in a certain way to make her look a certain way. I would feel like awful if she's the nicest person in real life or something, but it just doesn't come off that way. And obviously all we have is the edit and
Right.
what she does on social media and on interviews. And like, she's pretty consistent throughout it. And that it seems like she feels very justified in how she behaved this season.
Yeah. Yeah. She just thinks we're not seeing it. But I disagree. I thought her behavior on this episode was, it's like and even during this fight when we get this other flashback about her saying that Danny had said at another party, like, I have a weakness for girls in short skirts, right? And everybody that she says heard it. Like, then she's like, Jason heard it. And then Jason's like, well, I never heard it. But I heard of it from this person who's like, well, I never heard it. But I heard, and I'm like, does it all just come back to Janet?
Yeah, it does. So yeah, Janet says, because I watched this multiple times because I actually made a meme out of it.
Oh, nice.
Because so Janet says that she heard it from Jason and Jared. We go to Jason and Jason says, I didn't hear it personally, but I heard it. I heard that Brittany heard it. Then we go to Brittany and Brittany says, I didn't hear it, but I've heard it all over town for a long time. And then Lala says, so have I. So it's like, okay, so basically it's a rumor, just like the ring rumor.
Right.
Just like the ring rumor, actually. And yeah, so it is like, am I supposed to be able to tell who's lying here?
Well, it just seems like something that Janet, again, what's the weirdest part of that is that Janet says, for me, is that Janet says that Jason said it, that Jason heard it.
Right.
And then Jason saying, because I'm like, that's your husband.
Right. So you're lying because you would know if Jason had said it or not.
100%.
Jason would have been like, no, I didn't say it. And then you would never repeat that again if you didn't think that that wasn't true. Okay. So then, yeah. So this kind of devolves into a whole thing. Janet doubles down. She uses the word molested in the freaking confessional. Was that the confessional that she says that?
Yeah, it was. That's when she was like, what do you want me to say? He this. Like, so
I'm just like, girl, like, not only are you spreading rumors, but you're saying things that would like really upset people, just people watching.
Well, I mean, we even hear Kristen say, we are talking about slander. We are talking about defamation. Like, and I do think like it's tough because I guess if we want to go by Merriam-Webster, I can't say that it wouldn't fit the definition.
Yeah.
But I also
there is a connotation with those words that is not what you think of when you think of somebody grabbing somebody else's butt.
Yes, 100%. Right. And also, how does said victim feel? She feels like, can we shut the freak up about this? Like, can we stop? And so why are we not listening to her?
Yeah. And I can't pretend to know what that would feel like because I'm not a lesbian and I don't know what it would feel like to be touched by a man. We talked about this on previous episodes where it's like I've had my boyfriend's friends when I was, younger. I could see some of them doing this kind of thing. Maybe even they did do this kind of thing. And I was drunk and don't remember it. And I wouldn't really think that much of it. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I got SA'd.
Right.
There are many, many things that have happened in my life that would be much more like better characterized by SA than that. And on top of that, I think
if that is how you felt about it, that it was SA, that'd be okay because you are the victim in that situation.
Right.
We're not hearing from the victim saying that's how she felt about it.
Exactly. And you also just do have to take into account, at least I do. I just think about the context of this. And like, it was wrong. I'm not saying it wasn't wrong, but also the context is that Melissa is a lesbian and he is straight. And there might be in his mind, I think they're probably like very, they're very religious, probably relatively conservative. They're probably not very like politically correct. They probably don't have a ton of cultural sensitivity training and people in their life that are teaching them about the nuances of all these things. And I can see him thinking, she doesn't like men. So why would she be offended?
Right.
And not realizing, like, not trying to cross her boundary, but just trying to be silly and thinking that it's funny and harmless, and then it not being taken that way.
Right. Right. But I also think that he strikes me as someone who, if Melissa wanted to have that conversation with him to help educate him on that, he would want to sit down and listen.
100%. He's
And
raising daughters.
Right. And that's not how Janet is trying to portray it.
Yeah. And he obviously like respects Nia a lot.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So anyway, it's just like, it's a very complicated situation that's being made actually like way, way, way worse by Janet.
Yes. And very
let them deal with this on their own. If it's such a bad thing, don't talk about it on camera. Let them deal with it on their own.
Right. And very intentionally, with a very clear motive. She doesn't come off well here. And I don't want to hear it be called Crazy Kristen when Kristen was like, you're a fan, B. Like,
yeah.
Like, I was just like, that's not Crazy Kristen. That is Kristen Doty. You get it, girl. Like,
yeah.
Stand up.
Yeah. So anyway, and then there's like Jesse being excited about the drama. Like, is he my new favorite person on this show?
He's had so much to, like, we didn't even talk about, like, in the very beginning of the episode when they're doing the little luau thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, when the camera pans down, like, they're all standing in a line waiting for Kristen and Luke to come out, except for Jesse at the very end of the line that is, like, in the damn thing. And I just loved it for him.
Yeah, he's pretty kooky. I love it. Yeah, so that's kind of the end of the episode. We'll see what happens next week. What did you think of the preview?
We see Jax is back, which, this episode, there was so much drama that I didn't crazy miss him. I mean, I know we saw him for a minute, I loved Schwartzy in this whole one.
He fits in. He should be on the show. I'm sure he's getting added as a cast member.
He's great. I love seeing him stress about bad decisions his male friends are making.
That reminds me, I recorded the reunion clip of him.
Oh, yeah.
In between Raquel and Tom Sandoval, because I had forgotten, producers, this must be a bit amongst them, the producers, because the producers always put Tom Schwartz in the most awkward, places where he has to be next to whoever the villain is.
Right.
And so this season it's been next to Jax, and he's just slinking out of his chair trying to disappear. He wishes he has an invisibility cloak. And
so we have a new listener. And
hi,
I know. Her name is Jessica.
Welcome to our second listener.
I am actually a little jealous because I remember what it was like my first time. And what I mean by that is she is on her very first watch of Vanderpump Rules. She's never seen the show.
My gosh.
I know.
What I wouldn't give. What season is she on?
She is on season 2. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what I wouldn't give.
I know, because she was asking me about Love Island and the host and why she's popular. And, I started talking about Vanderpump. She's like, well, I'm watching that now and I'm on season 2. And I'm like, well, some stuff happens. And it makes you kind of root for Ariana.
So does she know about Scandival?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you need to ask her to record her reaction. Be on this episode, or pick some episodes and ask her to record her reaction, and maybe we could put it on our TikTok if she would be okay with that, or just watch it for our own fun.
Yeah. No, she doesn't know. She knows there was a big scandal, but she's like, I'm not sure who or what. So I'm watching from the beginning.
Okay, so she's going to see that clip I just showed you then. So do you want to cut that out?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe I'll cut that out.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, thanks everyone for listening to Confessionals and Congressionals. We will be back later this week with our second episode of the week. We're going to talk pop culture. We're going to talk a little bit about the challenge, which is going to be our next recap. We're going to talk about the GQ article, The Valley of Divorced Men, or whatever it's called, where they completely shred the men of the Valley to pieces. It's quite funny. And yeah, until then, Cass, thanks for recording today.
Thank you. See you later.
See ya.